Okay. We are studying in the book of Genesis, very beginning of the Bible. And remember, the book of Genesis was divided into three parts. Our curtain's covering part here. The first part about creation to Noah. The second part about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And the third part is about Joseph. We're still in the first part. Last time we had a lesson on the Bible, because I took a week where I did Thanksgiving. So last time we did the lesson, Adam and Eve sinned. They brought the curse of death upon all creation, and God kicked them out of the garden. Then they had a baby, and they named him Cain, and he grew up to be a farmer. And he grew, I don't know if he grew just vegetables or just grain, or if he grew both, but he was a farmer. Then they had another baby named Abel, and he grew up to be a shepherd. And one day, decide what direction I'm going. One day, they both brought gifts to God. Abel brought of the best of his flocks. He brought a lamb and he sacrificed it to God. And Cain brought of the fruits and vegetables that he had grown and well, you don't sacrifice fruits. You can't kill them, it doesn't do it good. But he laid them on the altar and offered them to God. And both offerings are acceptable to God. Later in the Mosaic Law, God will outline that only the sacrifice of a lamb or a goat would pay the rent on our sins and move it ahead till Jesus. But God did command that people bring offerings of the first fruits of their produce. So their fruits and their vegetables and their grains and their olive oil and everything that they grew, they were to bring offerings to God. So both offerings were acceptable, except Cain's was not. And when Cain's offering was not accepted, and we don't know exactly how God displayed that he didn't accept Cain's offering. When it was not accepted, Cain looked upset. And God asked him, Cain, why did you look upset? Why are you mad? If you were doing what was right, your offering would have been accepted. But if you're going to do what's wrong, your offering won't be accepted. There is sin that is lying in wait at the door, and it wants to conquer you. It wants to master you. But you have to resist that sin you're thinking about committing. Later, Cain and Abel went out to the field, and Cain killed Abel. First murder in human history. And God asked, at some time after that, God asked Cain, where's your brother? Cain said, how should I know? I'm not my brother's shepherd. And God said, Cain, your brother's blood is crying to me from the ground. And he cursed Cain. He had to leave his family. He and his wife left his family, and they traveled to a different land called the land of Nod. And they did build cities, which I'll explain in a minute. They built cities and they lived, but the ground would never produce for Cain like it had before, because God had cursed him for what he did to his brother. After that, Eve had another baby boy named Seth, and he grew up to be the one that would be the ancestor of Jesus. Now, many people ask, where did Cain get his wife? If Adam and Eve were the first two people on planet Earth, and so we got Cain and Abel, where did Cain's wife come from so they could build a city? We believe, though the Bible doesn't tell us, Jewish history tells us Eve had 60 children. And if she had lived to be 900 like Adam did, she had plenty of time to have that many kids or more. And so Cain married one of his sisters. Today we don't marry brothers and sisters because the genetic code has degraded to the extent that that's just really a bad idea. But at this time, the genetic code had not degraded yet, so it was okay. It's not okay today. They had probably as many or more children than Adam and Eve had, and so they had enough to build the city. And the whole population began to grow. If you lived for 900 years and you had one child every 10 years, can you imagine keeping track of your grandkids' birthdays?
No.
It would take a whole ledger book.
Not to mention your grandchildren.
Yeah.
Yeah, and great-grandkids and keeping track.
I couldn't do it.
Birthdays.
Birthdays.
Yeah.
I can't keep track of mine now.
Every day on the calendar would be somebody's birthday and more, several people's birthday.
Yeah.
So, population's growing, things are blooming, and we will learn more next time. Okay, let's sing our song. The Bible tells us to love each other, which Cain did not do. So this is an example in the opposite. Don't act like Cain. Beloved,